Sit down.
Madam Speaker, I beg for the recommittal of the items announcements, reports from committees, and notices of motions given orally.
Members, the question before the House is that there is a recommittal of the item on the agendas, announcements, reports from committees, and notices of motions given orally. Those in favour? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it.
Also laid on the table of the House today are copies of the report of the Standing Finance Committee of the whole House of Representatives, consisting of all members of the House, on the third supplementary estimate of expenditure for the financial year ending March 31, 2023.
Reports from committees.
Madam Speaker, I beg to lay on the table of the House a copy of the report of the Standing Finance Committee of the whole House of Representatives, consisting of all members of the House, on the third supplementary estimates for the financial year ending March 31st, 2023.
Notices of motions given orally.
Madam Speaker, I beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the House, I will move, be it resolved that the report of the Standing Finance Committee of the whole House of Representatives, consisting of all members of the House, on the third supplementary estimates of expenditure for the financial year ending 31st of March 2023, which was laid on the table of the House on the 2nd day of February 2023, be adopted. Madam Speaker, I further beg to give notice that at a later stage today, I'll move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take this motion.
Public business.
Madam Speaker, I now move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take the motion, notice of which I gave earlier.
Members, the question before you is for the suspension of the standing orders to enable the Minister to take the motion, notice of which he gave earlier. Those in favour? Those against? The ayes have it. Minister.
Madam Speaker, I just want to take the opportunity to thank members of the House for convening today on Thursday, thank members of the PAC for convening yesterday, and for you for chairing the Standing Finance Committee, and for the fulsome participation therein. And Madam Speaker, if it would please you, I ask that the resolution be approved, if there's no...
Members, the question before you is that the resolution be approved. Those in favour? Those against? Resolution approved.
Madam Speaker, it is not intended to do any further business of the House today. On the motion of adjournment, Madam Speaker, I recognize that the Minister of Education would like to make a comment on the motion of adjournment. May it please you, Madam Speaker.
Minister of Education.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it is very disheartening that once again I have to come to Parliament to speak of atrocities committed on our children. This morning, many of us woke up to the news of the brutal rape and murder of 10-year-old Nikita Noel, a student of Esher Primary in Hanover. The Member of Parliament for Hanover Western told me, when I spoke with her today, that Nikita is from a close-knit community called Q. And that community is obviously in her constituency. And you'll note that today the Member of Parliament from Hanover Western is not in Parliament, and that's because she spent the time visiting with the family and with the school community. The Ministry of Education and Youth was there as well, with the various arms of the ministry, doing counseling and offering whatever other support that they could. Madam Speaker, the Member of Parliament told me that Nikita is the only child for her mother. On March 1 of this year, Nikita would have turned 10 years old. Madam Speaker, the MP said that Nikita dutifully took the taxi that she normally takes to get home, and that her mother noticed after the time had passed that she had not arrived home. And so the first thing her mother did was to call the taxi, and the taxi driver said, "Of course, I dropped her off." And there were other members of the community who witnessed that she was dropped off. The Member of Parliament said that where she was dropped off in the taxi is within a few meters of her house. You know, her house is on a little incline, and she got dropped off, and then she'd walk up the incline. Madam Speaker, words cannot express the outrage and anger that all of us should feel at what happened to one of our little children. As adults, we're supposed to protect and care for children, not hurt and kill them. As a country, we have to join in the strongest condemnation of persons who brutalize or in any way, shape, or form harm our children. We should not normalize the brutality. As a Ministry of Education, we will do whatever we can to offer counseling services and other forms of support to Nikita's immediate family and the school community. Madam Speaker, today we grieve with the family. Words cannot express the outrage and the anger that we all should be feeling about the brutality that was committed, and we hope that justice will come swiftly to this situation. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to join the voice of the opposition in response to the statement made by the Minister, to add our voice as well. It is true that so many times, so many days we wake up almost afraid to listen to the news, or not even willing to listen to the news, just given the level of trauma that it sometimes is, especially when it comes to our women and our children. We find the acts reprehensible. It's difficult. We come from a place where we say it takes a village to raise a child. And we say this often enough for many of us to believe that that is really what it should be. When these things happen, it reminds us that the village is not what it should be, that there are gaps that need to be fixed. There are breaches that we need to fill. I want to express our sorrow, our anger, our outrage, but I'm also hoping that this could be our resolve to stamp out any tendency, inkling of this kind of brutality, our resolve to make sure that every single one of us become a defender in that village for our children. I was pleased to note that the MP is actually in the area. That is really very good to see and to hear. And also to know, as usual, that the Ministry of Education has started giving the kind of support that you would expect them to give to the school family, to the personal family, and so on. I always try to remind us, because sometimes we do the family, we do the school, but sometimes there are members in the community as well, you know, who would be close family and friends, and they don't get the same level
of social support and counseling and therapy that they would need. So I want to just make sure that that is being done as well. Today is indeed a very, very sad day. I want to add my voice to call on anyone with any kind of information that could help to catch the perpetrator, can help to make sure that justice is indeed served. I want to also call on all of us to really make a complete rejection of this kind of brutality against our children. It is time we do say enough. And I believe I can say that this is one of those issues that we would be totally united as a parliament in terms of our outrage, in terms of also what needs to be done, and that call for everyone to stand up for justice so that Nikita can have her justice. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, I rise to join my colleagues in condemning the brutal assault and murder of 10-year-old Nikita Noel, a student of Esher Primary in Hanover. This heinous act is of deep concern to the entire Jamaican population, as it has created shockwaves across the length and breadth of Jamaica. This brutal act has negative consequences for the immediate and extended families, for the workplace, for community, and the entire global village. As you're aware, Madam Speaker, my ministry is taking the lead against family violence through financial and technical support from the Spotlight Initiative, which was launched March 9, 2020 by the Prime Minister, and is part of a global multi-year program being funded by the European delegation and is being implemented through several entities in Jamaica to address the very troubling issue of violence against women and girls. Madam Speaker, the focus on family violence includes child abuse, acts of domestic violence or intimate partner violence, and corporal punishment. The Spotlight Initiative is being rolled out through several public-private partnerships to support the implementation of the ministry's National Strategic Action Plan to eliminate gender-based violence in Jamaica. The Bureau of Gender Affairs continues to roll out several initiatives, including the Stand Up Talk Up information sessions and Know Your Rights information sessions. And these focus on providing awareness raising across communities on intimate partner violence, toxic masculinity, sexual harassment in the workplace, and other forms of family violence. A comprehensive complaints and response protocol has been developed to improve the options which are available for community members to make complaints to the police and other first responders. It also facilitates the collection of sex disaggregated data on family violence, as well as coordination and development of protocols for data sharing. Madam Speaker, I have already mandated the Bureau of Gender Affairs in my ministry to provide the necessary psychosocial support and counseling to the immediate family and extended families of Nikita, as well as members of her community and school family. And I want to appeal to the members of the immediate families in communities to speak up and speak out. Your actions will assist the police to carry out the investigations to ensure that perpetrators are brought swiftly to justice. So, at this point, Madam Speaker, to Jamaicans, through you, across the length and breadth of Jamaica, your cooperation is important to ensure that you play your part to make Jamaica a safe place for all. Everyone has a role to play in ending this cycle of violence. Together, we can end it. There is no excuse for abuse. This must stop. Today, it's a sad day, and I know that we all feel the pain. Madam Speaker, may God bless this land we love and help us to go through this. Thank you.
You know, it's truly a dark day in this country when something so awful can happen to a little girl that's 10 years old. When you have family members who are older and sick and die, the finality of death just grips you and you feel you can't cope. I can't begin to imagine what the mother and the family of this child must be going through. And I'm not somebody that is very often lost for words, but I just don't know what to say. I gather there's somebody held in custody, and I pray to Almighty God that the relationship of the person in custody is not what is going through the news now, because certainly something would be wrong with us. It is just unheard of. And as the minister just said, only the good Lord and time can help a situation like this, because it is just awful, and it is a woman's only child. We just have to ask God for his help. That's all I can say.
Madam Speaker, it is not contemplated for us to do any further business today. I therefore ask that the House adjourns until February 7th at 2 p.m. Thank you.
Members, the question is that the House do adjourn until next week, Tuesday, the 7th of February at 2 p.m. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. This House is now adjourned.
Every Jamaican